Hi, thank you. Matt Schul from Inside U.S. Trade. I'm not checking my phone, I just have my question here. So I wanted to ask you, Ambassador Vetter, about some in the agriculture community, specifically the pork industry, has raised concerns about a subsidy program that Japan wants to implement as part of its adjustment to TPP, and they're worried this could undermine their market access benefits from the TPP. So I just wanted to, we know that they're working with Congress, and some in Congress have expressed concerns that this could undermine, could sap away votes from TPP. So I just wanted to ask you whether the U.S. is pushing Japan to modify that program, and whether Japan has indicated whether it's open to making changes to that. Thanks.
Sure. We are obviously aware of NPPC's concerns and are working with them to look at their understanding of the program. And we've talked to the government of Japan about how exactly that program operates, both on paper and in practice, to make sure at the start of this that we all have the same understanding of the facts and what incentives that program may or may not actually create for Japanese pork producers. But I would say, regardless of any subsidy program or any packages that Japan or any other country may pass, what I think is really interesting about pork in Japan is that the package we negotiated in TPP is going to change the way that market operates, again, regardless of this subsidy program. By reducing the impact of that gate price, our pork producers will have the opportunity to directly brand their product. Right now, the gate price in Japan requires that you hit a certain price per kilogram for a shipment of pork. So what that ends up doing is we put together these blended shipments, and it's not an easy task to put high cost and low cost cuts together, which means when that shipment lands in Japan, you need a distributor to unpack that shipment and send it out. So our pork producers don't have the opportunity to send one container of one cut and run a grocery store promotion and have a branded effort and a direct interface with their buyers. And the ability to do that under TPP will really change the opportunity for U.S. pork to distinguish itself in that marketplace. And the other issue is that we don't talk very much about the fact that while the gate price for that fresh and frozen cut doesn't go away, that duty comes down, offering that new opportunity, processed pork tariffs and the gate price will be eliminated. And so what we're seeing from analysts in Japan is that it might in fact now be more profitable to do the processing in the United States and to send that product to Japan. So again, a huge change in the dynamic, in additional jobs for creating those products here. And so the dynamism in that pork market, because of how this deal was structured, I think presents huge opportunity regardless of this particular subsidy program.
Are you expecting Japan to make any changes or anything?
We're going to go on to the next question. Sorry about that. Want to make sure we get several in the audience. How about way in the back there? Please stand. Yes.
Hello, I'm Catherine Bedard from Wine Institute and Ambassador Vetter. I want to offer my congratulations again on TPP. It's a huge accomplishment. And I'm just curious if the U.S. government, USTR, the interagency, is thinking about what's next now that TPP is included, what other countries are under consideration for a future FTA. Thank you.
Well, as you know, first of all, nice to see you. Thank you. And I think your industry has a lot to gain from TPP. It's a good example of that sort of the cost of inaction piece there too, knowing that our competitors in Australia and New Zealand have some access in that TPP region that we don't have now, and we can really level that playing field for you through TPP. As you know, we've just talked about the other TPP countries who may be joining, countries where for your industry in particular, wine consumption is also growing along with that middle class. But we do have another negotiation that we're actively in the middle of course, with TTIP, our agreements with the negotiations we're conducting with Europe and with the EU, and so we are focusing on trying to move those forward as much as possible this year. And that's of course a good example of an agreement where not only do we have significant tariff barriers, but those non-tariff barriers are a big factor for U.S. agriculture as well.